Welcome to Pod EP06. On this podcast, I have live conversations with creators of all walks of art to not only recognize the hardworking talent and appreciate what they're doing, but to also open the dialogue on how these artists are turning their passions into plans for success, making it a business. And for all the artists listening, I hope that this podcast can inspire you to make your own rules to the game, because there is a bit of a game. If you like what you hear by the end of this podcast and you want to support us here at Boss Pod, visit my Patreon at patreon.com/shenova and subscribe to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/shenova, to be a part of the Weirdo crew and to see also the Boss Pod episodes that are released there. You can also follow me here on Instagram at shenovaweirdo to watch the podcast live every Sunday, 11 a.m. Pacific time, and be a part of the conversation and chat. After this live recording here on Instagram, these episodes are then distributed to all podcast outlets, including Anchor and Spotify. And you can find this episode as well as previous episodes on the Boss Pod website, which is shenova.co/bosspod. Today's conversation is going to be all about content creation and how you should be utilizing the internet, which is such a huge new thing. It's completely changed how people do business, and even already big businesses are utilizing the internet to make their brand even bigger. There is no limit with the internet. You can reach anybody that's on it. So there are no boundaries, and there's ways that you can utilize it to grow and create a fan base. So all businesses should be utilizing the internet in very specific ways that we're going to discuss on today's episode. By the way, if you're an actor or a vocal coach or a painter, a freaking potteryist, you're a business. No matter what trade you're in, art or entertainment, you're a business, even if you're just an individual. So it's easier to put yourself out there more than ever, and you should. I'm going to be breaking down the types of content you can choose to create that fit into your lifestyle and brand the best, as well as getting into the mentality that I've adopted over the years that has resulted in me being the most productive, the most passionate, and the happiest I've ever been by creating more stuff, basically. I do think it's kind of in my DNA though. For me, I love putting in the time, and I don't have much of a life outside of my work. It's just me and who I am. It's in my blood. I'm relentless and I'm a challenge seeker, and that is why I love being an artist in music. It kind of just checked all the boxes for me. Artists don't just make music. Music is the core. It's a piece of what we do, a big piece. But when I realized how important it was to be creating this other content outside of just the music for the growth of the music and me as a brand as a whole, I knew I was all in. That was it for me. Like when I found out that I could be editing videos and like doing all this branding stuff, like that excites me. I like the big picture stuff as well. So I'm in it. Here we are. And I love it. And this is the first year that I've been totally independent and hustling on my own. And I couldn't be more happy. So if you're in entertainment or art, you should already know that you should be posting on social media consistently and creating more long form content for platforms such as like YouTube and Twitch and Facebook and all that. So that's what today's show is going to be about. That's what we're going to go into. And today I want it to be a little bit less structured. I'm going to be bringing only one guest in who's a good friend of mine, and I know that we can have conversations about this and go in deeper on stuff. And she's going to be kind of the co-pilot of this convo. I feel we both have a lot of input and experience, and I hope that we can put our heads together and spark some topics that can inspire you to create as well for your own content. Joining me today is a girl that knows all about every form of content creation I can think of. This girl is a legit boss in everything. She is a professional voice actor, singer, and content producer. With the mission of spreading love, tea, and coziness, she can be found all over the internet. From weekly videos on YouTube to her Positivity podcast, and now live music and story time on Twitch streams, per my recommendation and guidance. I'm so glad she did it because she's crushing it. This talent knows how to turn her skills into branded, tangible content for everybody to enjoy on the internet. Please welcome my co-host for the day, Miss Mary Lou.
Hello, love. How are you today?
I'm great. My earpods aren't working, though.
Oh, hey.
There
love
we go.
That for us.
Well, you look beautiful. Look at that lioness mane you've got going.
Thank you. Oh, I never look this good at 11 o'clock on a Sunday. Only for you, my dear.
Yeah, so we out here, as you kind of heard from my intro, I want to go a little bit more into depth with you on some of the things that you do. And I think both of us are in really similar places in our career. We're just dipping our toe in every single pocket of the internet possible to get as much reach as possible. And because you're so multi-talented as well, as I'll say, I'm not tooting my own horn, but I dabble. I do so many things. I think you really do utilize all your skills so beautifully. And I'm so happy to be a part of your journey and like see all of what you're doing, because you've inspired me, especially, with the YouTube thing. I think that's what kind of sparked our friendship. I had just started YouTube at the time, and you've always been a really big inspiration for me because you are just, like I said, relentless and always putting out content. So thank you for being here on this episode with me.
Oh, 1,000%. I'm so thrilled to be here. How wonderful is this? You being a girl boss and doing the thing. I mean,
that's why I wanted to do kind of a solo thing with you, because I think you are so well versed and I think there's so much we can talk about. So I want to go back to your roots. You're a actor, you do voice acting, and you're a singer. So kind of tell us your background real quick so people kind of know.
Yeah, so my whole entertainment sort of background started when I was very young. I started performing concerts as a singer from when I was itty bitty teeny tiny, taking voice lessons. And from there, I discovered acting, and I studied that throughout grade school. I studied musical theater and opera in college. So it was kind of this magical blend of both acting and voice work. And since college, I've continued to dabble as a musician. I've started composing things, and I have decided to really focus on voice acting specifically, which is just this magical combination of voice technique and storytelling and acting, and as well as a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, isn't that what it is with everything you create? Like, you get into something, you're like, oh, I'm going to start a YouTube channel and like show my skill. And then you realize, oh, there's all these other things that I have to do to make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's never simple.
No, never simple. But yeah, definitely always started in music, and then everything else is just kind of connected and has found a way through there.
Yeah, and so tell us about your branding side, because I love your mind on this and you're so consistent with it and it's so you. So how did you come to the Tea Time fam and all of what you do around your love for tea and coziness? Tell us about that.
Yeah, I've always been the weirdo, to use a word that is so near and dear to you.
That makes sense. Why I
started throwing tea parties with friends when I was like 13 years old. So tea to me has always meant a gathering of friendship, of fun, of kindness and love, and bringing that to the internet is such an exciting thing. I was actually approached by another friend, my friend Kay Karimian, and they are an artist themselves. They reached out to a bunch of artists in different mediums and was like, hey, let's make a project. Let's see what your process is like. I want you to notice how you make things and then actually end up making something. And I had the idea to do tea parties on the internet, and it started there and it hasn't stopped. It hasn't stopped since.
I love it. And you're so dedicated to it. And I personally relate to it kind of in my brand, because you're bringing in kind of this nostalgia and a little bit of your childhood into not only you as an adult, but to a place on the internet, like, I think that's kind of what ADHD was for me, was like bringing a little bit of like the young me into who I am now. Because I mean, when you think about it, when you're young and you're playing, that's a lot of your true essence and who you are. So that you bring that into your brand is super cool and original, and I love it. So what came first? Was YouTube first? Was the voice acting first? Where did you as an internet presence start?
Yeah, for me personally, it started with YouTube itself. And from there, you branch off into Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, the social media web of things. And it wasn't until after YouTube started that voice acting for me started. And that was kind of a happy accident. At a job, I had modified duty because of an injury. So I was the one doing all of the announcements. Hello, welcome, my name is Mary Lou, and today blah, blah, blah. And someone that was listening one day went, are you a voice actor? And I was very proud of myself. I very bravely said, not yet, but I want to be. So they kind of helped me jumpstart that whole journey. They hooked me up with their teacher and made a demo reel, and now I have an agent and all of this awesome stuff. So from there, voice acting grew. Then I started a podcast. Then, thanks to you, I started having live tea parties on Twitch. It's been a whole like magical roller coaster.
I think you're just another case in point that it's like you always have to be growing and adapting. And I was actually just on the phone with my mom last night because I'm putting out a cover tonight at 5 p.m. There's like a premiere of it on YouTube. And I was like, should I release this like as an actual song? Because you can actually distribute covers through like DistroKid like you would a real song and pay like $12 or something. Oh my God, your teacup's so cute. Pay like $12 of royalties a year to pay the artist so that you can technically still own your cover. And I was on the phone with my mom and I'm like, do I really want to add more to my business? Like I already do so many freaking things. Am I really going to be distributing covers now too? So I think it's always in my mind to be growing, and there's just an abundance of things on the internet, and to keep up with that and to create a presence, I just think you kind of have to dabble in a lot of stuff. So with that being said, I have a couple quotes here and a few topics that I think we can go into today that I think is going to inspire us to talk about cool stuff. First of all, there's different kinds of creation. Just for everybody watching, there's different kinds of content that you can create. We've got video, we've got music, we've got podcasts, we've got written type blog or shorter hand Twitch, Facebook stuff, and then images. So there's like 5 main branches of content, and I know Mary covers them all. So we're going to kind of talk about each of those in a way. But the first quote that I really like that I think kind of started me on my journey of just being like content, let's just put it out, let's streamline things, let's get more efficient at this, was Gary Vee. Do you know who Gary Vee is?
Oh, yes, I do.
I love that man. So he said something that kind of changed my life. It shook me. And what he said, he was at some conference and he was like, give your best-ish away for free. And that kind of blew my mind. And I realized I was kind of already doing that in a sense. But you like in your mind when you're thinking of building a business, you try to think of ways of revenue, right? Well, actually, there's other ways to think about it, and going into it as I'm going to give my best for free so that everybody can access me is kind of a cool ideology. And I think kind of changed my ideas around where I should be putting my time. So is this something you believe in? What do you think of this perspective?
I think that it's a useful tool, especially when you're starting. I think it's really important when you're putting yourself out there to put your best foot forward. And if it's something like Twitch, which you can watch for free, or YouTube or something that you can watch for free, it shows that inherently you have value. And once you have proven your value and your worth and your ideas and your trustworthiness, etc., once you have proven that for free, people are way more willing to jump in and support you after that point. If I'm a nobody, I've never been on the internet before. And for me personally, if I'm just like, hey, you've never heard me and you don't know anything that I do, but give me money, it can be hard. It can be really hard to start there. Yes, I think artists have value and should be paid what they are worth. However, there's got to be some kind of balance, because a really important aspect of building a community as getting yourself out there as an artist is the community itself. And it's really important to be there for people. So,
and no discrimination as far as like, oh, you have to pay $5 to join this community. Like, right, have that being open to everyone, I think is really important. And I think kind of what you're also hinting at is this deeper rooted like element of trust, that people trust you. And that takes time. Like, I know for me, when I'm scrolling through YouTube and like I keep stumbling across the same person and I'm watching their videos, but like, whatever. It's not until like that 7th, 8th time that I run into them that they've added value in my life. And I'm like, you know what? I'm a subscriber. I'm subscribing, like not in a petty way, but just like it sometimes takes time for people to really get to know you and trust you. So love that quote. His second quote that I really like is, don't create, document. And this was really interesting for me because at the time when I heard this quote, I was on tour and I was like, okay, well, maybe instead of like worrying about all these things that I have to do on top of tour, why don't I just record what I'm doing on tour? So content can be anywhere, as I think kind of the point. Like, I know a lot of the times for you in your tea time stories on Instagram, you're like, tell me what you're drinking today. And you put like a little picture of your teacup and, you know, this is what I'm drinking today. What are you drinking? And that kind of interactive, everyday, just what you're doing, I think is, at least to me, is an important thing to add in and can create content like fast and easy.
Yeah, I feel like I've definitely been there where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna sit down and try to manifest these ideas in my mind. And then I just sit there and I can't freaking think of anything. I think the importance of this quote is, you know, art reflects life, life reflects art. If you dig into who you are, if you dig into why you're doing it, everything will just kind of fall into place. There shouldn't be so much pressure, especially for people like us that really are a one-woman show. There isn't just that, oh, I need to make this thing and do it. No, just look at your life first. Start with your life, because especially we were talking about community building. Being able to relate to people is so huge. And I love making short films and really polished pieces, but I can't crank those out every day. And another thing that I think helps a lot is just the sheer volume of creating.
Yeah, which was
that
what I was like to do too. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Take it away, girl.
It keeps you out of your head a bit and really pushes you to just do it. Because, you know, if I have an episode to film this week and I'm streaming on Twitch 4 nights a week and I'm also doing all this auditioning and everything else, podcasting, what have you. Oh, I think it would just be too much if I just sat down and was like, ooh, I have to make some art right now. And it's kind of a relief, honestly.
Yeah, I totally get that. And I think I'm the exact, you and I are the same. We're soul sisters. I already know that. You're one of my closest friends and I know why. But I think I was paralyzed for a lot of my career, thinking that everything needed to be perfect and that everything needed to be planned and everything needed like a budget and something behind it in order for it to mean something. And once I popped that bubble of like, nope, it's just do you, share who you are, make a whole bunch of stuff that you like, and get to just create 24/7, I was like, it just blew my mind, and my life has completely changed, and I've never been more confident and more happy because I just create stuff. And that's where the focus is, rather than like, oh, how do I make this the best thing ever? Like, no, it's about the journey of creating, because I get to just do what I love all the time. What beats that? So
exactly. And I want to touch on something that you did mention, the trap of perfectionism. I refer to myself very lovingly as a recovering perfectionist. And I had heard this quote from someone somewhere. I don't know who the first person was that said it, but done is better than perfect.
Oh, God, I love that.
Done
it's so true.
is better than perfect. And that's so true, because even when I was creating, even just in the YouTube space, I would be it was so stressful feeling like I couldn't release something until it was there. And by having to release content so frequently, I don't have time to get caught up in perfectionism anymore. And at the same time, linking into something else, I also have learned the hard way when to ask for help.
That's hard for me. Give me some advice on that.
I felt myself falling into a period of burnout, I suppose you could call it. I know it's like a buzzword nowadays, but with my YouTube content in particular, editing takes forever. I love editing. I really do. And all of a sudden, I hated editing. Yeah, and I was like, this is a problem. This is making me not want to create, and I love creating. It's so much fun where I go through my tea shelf and I pick out something marvelous and then shoot some pretty footage of me brewing it, and I love all of that stuff. And then I would just sit down to edit and go,
So you outsourced that then?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, so everybody edits, somebody edits all your stuff now, or just some things?
So my sister sister-in-law, who's a wizard. She is now my full-time in-house editor for YouTube content. So she does that. Podcast content is edited by actually my fiance, who is a great editor as well.
Again,
and
outsourced.
He's really good at...
Love it.
Yeah, because for me, I noticed that was something that was really, really holding me back. And it was too much. It was too much. And I was like, well, I could sit here and be aggravated and just do nothing. Or I could get some help and continue to create what I want to create and then put that effort, that energy that was being sucked away by something that felt extra laborious, and then I can put that extra energy into higher quality content, higher volume of content, whatever that happens to be.
Which is amazing, and I 100% agree with this. And when I'm saying that, I'm being like, hey Nova, freaking ask someone to do your freaking music videos. Yeah, I've been shooting and editing a video by myself. It's for the song by myself for over a month now. So I need to find someone that I really jive with in a creative way. Music videos are hard, you know, like I want to put my heart into the editing, and I want, you know, a lot of the video itself is a lot of it's created in Premiere for me. Like I'm coming up with ideas while I'm editing, and for me to like hire someone and give them a bunch of footage and be like, this is the storyline, I'd be like, I don't know what I want. I'd have to play around with it. I don't really know. So a lot of my creative process right now is kind of in the editing. So I don't know. I'm in a catch-22 with that, and I don't know when or how I'm gonna outsource that yet, but I do have Spikey just joined. He has been editing my podcast, so baby steps.
Yeah, baby, that's huge though. Like that's huge that you have someone helping you out with your podcast.
And
it makes
awesome.
A really, really big difference. Yeah, so good for you for being like, I need help with this. I'm gonna do it.
Wasn't easy.
And of course, and then when you bring other people on board, you also, I mean, talk about trust. It can be hard to not have ultimate control of absolutely every little detail, but oh my gosh, does it free your brain? Yeah, so it's a lot. And also it's really nice to be able to support other artists, right? You know, I Venmo my editor everything after every video, and it's just more ways of supporting awesome creative people. And I love that I'm now in a position where I can do that, because it's really nice.
Yeah, the editing is a big thing for me too, and as much as I love it, like you said, I could be getting so much more done if I wasn't doing it. So yeah, that is another step for me. The big step is trusting someone with music videos, because you know how I take them to heart, and I'll figure it out. I'll get there. Something that we kind of touched on and why we're having this conversation is quantity. And like you were saying, done is better than perfect. I love all of that. But does that also mean, like, for people who are watching and they're, say, a musician or a painter or whatever, like, is this content over one platform, or are we talking multiple platforms? Like, what do you think is most important for someone that is starting creating content for their skill or their brand? Where should they be doing what and when?
I think it's important to look at who your potential audience is, which can give you a really good place to start. I happen to be everywhere right now, but for the first 3.5 years or so, I was pretty much only on YouTube, because I knew that's where my audience was going to be for a lot of my tea party type things. So I think that's a really, really good place to start. And then from there, start to expand. Because I know for me, if I had tried to start everywhere at the same time, I would have been really overwhelmed and probably gotten nothing done, because I would have just felt like buried in a pile of, oh my gosh, I have to do this and then I have to do this.
How many videos were you putting out at that time a week?
Oh, I was doing 2 main videos and then a video podcast. So 3 pieces of content every week.
And you were editing yourself at that point too, right?
Yes, I was. So now that I do Twitch 4 days a week, I have brought that down to like 1 main video on my channel every week, and finding that balance. But I think really going all in on YouTube was really helpful for me for a long time. So, you know, I would say wherever you start, pick one place and do it really well, and learn and research, and then start to diversify.
And so with YouTube specifically, because I have not cracked that code yet, it's a tough one. Like, I'm sure you've done some research on algorithm, and does it really cater to people who are posting every week at the same time, or is that BS?
So the YouTube algorithm is an interesting thing because it's not created by just one person. It's like it's completely mechanical, but then it's also monitored by just like a large number of humans. So I do think making the algorithm happy to a point is important. However, what's more important than launching at the same time and this and that, or, oh, you should always have things up by 9 a.m. on Thursday. It's more important that once it is out there, that it makes the algorithm happy. So essentially, I'm talking about titles and thumbnails. So right now, that is a big thing for YouTube specifically, because that is what prompts someone to click on your video, is a good title and a good thumbnail. So yes, making the algorithm happy in one sense, but letting go of all of those itty bitty little things and putting your effort into a title and a thumbnail, I think is more important than worrying about just the minute details of this and that and the other thing.
And that makes me wonder too, like when you're promoting an episode, like you want people to click on it. Is that kind of the thing? Is the algorithm, once it's posted, is like how many clicks and views and likes within like a certain amount of time? Is that kind of what you're talking about algorithm after upload?
Yeah. So getting people to watch it in the first hour is important. Now, of course, everything I'm saying is probably going to change in the next 6 months or whatnot. But then that's where diversifying your content really comes in handy. So I have a Discord. There's a lot of Twitch and YouTube people there. Every time I upload something onto YouTube, it automatically tags everybody in Discord in that community and lets them know right when it goes live. I post to Twitter so then everyone in that community can see when the episode goes live right away. Facebook, same thing. So yes, it's like technically in that moment we're focusing on YouTube content, but because I've taken the time to have an awesome community of people, it then lends itself to helping what I started with, which is YouTube in that way. So I think that's really valuable.
And I think another way to diversify too, at least when you first said it, this is what I thought too, was diversifying your content. It's like putting up different kinds of videos so that your fans don't kind of get over the same kind of thing. Is that kind of also part of diversifying your content as well as you know, far as what the actual content is?
Yes and no at the same time. I mean, on YouTube specifically, it's hard because, again, the algorithm likes to pigeonhole you a little bit, but I think it's at the same time, it's really important to honor yourself and also honor what your audience craves. So do I just talk about tea every single episode? No, I have my like tea featured video that comes out once a month. But then when you do start to diversify the types of content, you know, I talk about board games, but I pair it with a cup of tea. I talk about, you know, I have positive conversations around mental health, but I'm always drinking a cup of tea. So when you do start diversifying, it's all about finding ways to incorporate something that is consistent. For me, it's tea and tea parties. It's just because I love it so much. So it feels like it's consistent. And so when someone goes to a channel, they feel like they kind of want to know what to expect. You know, how if you're going to decide to eat somewhere for lunch, on the little awnings outside, they say soup, salad, bistro, or whatever it is. You know, when someone comes into my content, no matter where they are on the internet,
it says tea,
they know
tea.
They're
Got it.
Right. It's gonna be tea, it's gonna be kindness, and it's gonna be coziness. So I think finding ways to diversify under the umbrella that is uniquely you is great. Instead of just, oh, I read something cool about birds this week.
No, that's a good point. And I think about the channels that I watch the most, and I think a level of familiarity is important because then your fans do have that kind of dependability on you. Like they know that they can depend on you, and then they know they're going to get this quality of content and they're going to see you in a certain way. Because I think of some of like my favorite shows, or like some of the bigger ones that have blown up. Like I think of Hot Ones, where they're literally at a table in a dark room doing the same freaking thing every freaking time. Like, to the T. The only difference is there is a different person sitting in that opposite chair. And I think there is power in familiarity. So I think that is a good point.
Totally. And it grounds you as a creator. and it grounds your content itself. So maybe today I'm talking about the tea I've been obsessed with, or maybe today it's actually been interesting experimenting with content, particularly in light of the current pandemic. And it's been really interesting to like listen to what my audience has been craving and listen to their needs, and just giving myself that permission to play around. Like, I filmed brewing 5 different kinds of tea in slow motion and then cut a video together of all slow-mo tea with meditation music in the background. So again, it's using your life, using the world around you to inform what you do, but then still having it be uniquely yourself.
Yeah. And I think that, you know, trying different things is awesome, because I think as an artist and as a content creator, you have to allow yourself to do what feels right, because that's honest, you know? And I think if your community really is on board with who you are, and you just explain like, yo, this is just happening, I want to talk about it, people are going to want to hear your opinion and your perspective on these different topics that aren't necessarily your brand, because they do know you and they do want to know what you think about other stuff. So my example in my head is like, I came home from tour and the COVID thing happened and lockdown happened literally that day. And I went to the store and I did like a haul on like vegan food that I got to like kind of stock up a little bit. And that's something that would be completely out of something I would typically do. But allowing myself to do that, like, why not? That's where we're all at. That's where my head was. I'm not going to sit down and make myself learn a cover or make myself write a song if I'm thinking about trying to survive, you know?
Right. And that's a whole other way of, yeah, you keep it honest to yourself, your viewers. And there is also a balance of creating content that is purely you and creating content that is very relevant, which something like, you know, yeah. So obviously doing slow-mo meditation things because we're all stressed out right now is also relevant. Or I got some toilet paper recently that is legit made out of green tea leaves. So I have plans to do a video about that. Like, do I usually talk about toilet paper on my channel? Absolutely not. Is it relevant? Absolutely. And did I make it under my brand? You betcha, because it's legit. It's green. The toilet paper is green.
No, that's a good point.
Because it's just made out of tea leaves.
That's a good point. I wasn't totally it wasn't out of left field. Like, it was a topical current event. So yes, I like that differentiation, and I think that's important. To go back on kind of what we all just said though, is the familiarity and doing similar type of videos, I think helps us out too, creating a formula. I think it can streamline content. So sitting down at the drawing board and always having to come up with different ideas, you're never going to be able to put 1, 2, however many videos you want out at a certain period of time if you're having to recreate the wheel every single time. Because I know for me, the first time I do something is always the hardest. It's always going to take the longest. It's always going to be the most tedious. It's always going to have problems I have to solve. But the 3rd, 4th, 5th time, it's like, oh yeah, it's the formula, figured all that out the first time. It's basically a template. You can bust out more content. Do you feel that you've had a similar experience with like kind of creating a formula that you just plug different content into?
You know what the easiest video for me to film is my Tea of the Month tea feature videos, because I've been doing them for so long. I can film them pretty quickly, pretty easily. I can talk about tea, just run my mouth. I'm really good at that. Just excitedly talking about what I'm drinking. And those episodes, because I have that formula, make it really easy. And I have certain videos that have some sort of structure that I try to do once a month, or that I can fall back on, so that I have that little net there already. And then if I want to branch out because I feel like it, then I have the freedom to do so. So it's really nice to kind of have the structure in your back pocket, and then you as an artist choose when to use it.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. And I think why I'm so excited about the idea of a formula and streamlining things like that is because I am so ADD. Like, if it were up to me, every single week I would reinvent everything and come up with this whole new video idea and how I'm going to do something. Like, I tend to go too far. So even in my mind, if I'm like, oh, this is a streamlined, same thing as the last, it's never going to be. So if I think that it's the same, then maybe it'll at least be a little less work and I won't completely change the entire idea. But yeah, that's just something that I've kind of struggled with. And I think it can be useful, especially in the beginning while you're trying to find yourself, to experiment with different things. And then when you find something that works, use it as a template to insert other recorded content or however you want to do it into that, so that it's not like, yeah, having to recreate every single time. So yeah, and as far as kind of advertising, I know that you advertise certain platforms on other platforms. How important or / annoying do you think it is for people to see stuff about Twitch on Twitter, or do you think that that's a tool? Have you used that as an asset for yourself, or is it the other way around?
Oh, I think it's totally a tool. And as long as it comes from a place that's authentically me, and then I don't think it's a problem at all. My YouTube channel really started taking off when I started Twitch. And, I have a little command that I can push a button in my chat that says YouTube, that says, did you know we have tea parties on YouTube? Come on over. Let's have some fun.
So can you give me the Twitch update, by the way? And we only have about 5 more minutes, but I do want to hear about where you're at with Twitch, because I know where you started when I started helping you and a little bit of that, but where has it grown to? Where are you at now? What has it done for you so that people are convinced?
Streaming music on Twitch has been life-changing for me. I am now a full-time streamer, so I do have small amounts of income coming from other places like my tea sales and stuff like that, but through the magic of Twitch, I am able pretty much to support myself full time, which is incredible. I have been writing more and more originals. On the horizon, I'm going to be recording and launching some singles, which is very exciting, which I haven't even told you because I haven't started things in the works yet. But yeah, I'm going to be starting to do that. I love Twitch. It's just a beautiful community. And I feel like, especially in the music corner of Twitch, it's just, for some reason, it's this anomaly on the internet that's just this cluster of really fantastic humans, and they feel like family. And it's really just, I love it. I love it so much.
And I think it's a good tool. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, you're good. I was going to say we're almost at 2,000 followers now.
I saw that today.
It's very exciting. Yeah, and people are just really supportive. And again, it's creative, but I treat it like a job. I sit down 4 nights a week and we play and sing or play a game or tell stories or whatever it happens to be. And just the love that I've received from people is incredible.
Yeah, the people who are most successful at Twitch say exactly what you just said, is I see it like a job. I sit down my 3 nights a week, my 4 nights a week, whatever it is, and just treat it like a job, because it is. And where else can you say, you can be in your PJ pants, put a cute top on, sit at a desk and work, be at your job, So it is an anomaly of an amazing community and opportunity. I also think, as far as within the realm of talking about content creation, it is, although semi-technical and there is a bit of a learning adventure at the beginning as far as technically getting set up to stream, once that's done, I think it's probably the easiest, quickest, fastest form of content, because there's no editing. There's no anything you have to do other than do it in the real time. And that's it, hands off. Maybe, send out a tweet beforehand or something, but it's very hands off, instant gratification content. So
absolutely. And it's really good practice in just loving yourself, being comfortable with yourself, because it's very raw in that form, because you're putting it out live on the internet. And again, done is better than perfect. And there's no editing,
which is such a godsend. And I think that's also what got me, now that I think about it, it was right at that same time that I started Twitch that I really got out of my paralysis of perfect content, all this stuff that has to Twitch cured me, because I got on there and I realized that people don't flip and care. People love you anyways, and the ones that are true fans are always going to support you and encourage you, and it's such a good learning experience. You get to know yourself, and yeah, it cured me from the perfection thing. Now I do not give 2 craps if I mess up. look what I just did.
Good for you. Yes.
Like I
you
used
mess
to,
up and then you learn.
Yeah, and I used to beat myself
And what you
up.
put out is even better.
Yeah, I used to beat myself up all the time. And then once I realized that it was so liberating to just mess up, fall flat on your face, and be like, oh, cool, I just did that. How am I going to make that better? I started trying things, I started pushing myself to try things that I wouldn't have before when I was like trying to make it good. It's like, no, just do it. And if it sucks, cool. Now we know that sucks. Let's do the other thing.
Yeah, it helps you find your courage and your confidence.
Yeah. So I'm so happy that it's going so well for you. Do a little bit of a plug thing. Give a plug to everything that you're doing so that everybody can find all your things.
Absolutely. I'm Miss Mary Lou. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube on the Miss Mary Lou channel, Twitch on the Miss Mary Lou channel. I also have my own tea. It's like the 1-year anniversary of when I launched my first tea collection.
Oh, happy 1 year.
Thank you. We have something very special planned for the coming weeks, so stay tuned on all socials for that. And yeah, you can buy my tea. It's in the shop full time now at teaspectral.com. It's the Miss Mary Lou Morning Rose Garden tea, and I am obsessed. Yes, I made it, so I'm biased. But when someone says, hey, make your perfect tea, how could you not be obsessed?
I mean, if someone says make a perfect tea, Miss Mary Lou's going to make a perfect tea. I mean, if anybody's going to do it, it's going to be you.
You betcha. You were at that launch party. You know.
Which I have tried all 3, and I am still, I think, I'm between Jacob and Yule Babies, the Hobbits. I don't know. I love both of them so much.
Well, stay tuned for more announcements about
I can't wait.
That kind of stuff in the next couple weeks.
Mary, thank you so much for being here and sharing your wisdom and having kind of a free flow conversation with me about this today.
Thank you so much for having me on this podcast. Like, you're a boss. I love you so much. And thank you so much for insisting that I get my butt on Twitch, because it's been really amazing.
I know. I was a persistent little leech about it, but I'm really happy that you did.
In the best way. In the best way.
All right. You have a good rest of your Sunday, girl. I'll talk to you later.
You too, love.
Bye.
Bye.
Such a love, such a light. I love that girl. She's killing it. She shouted out all her socials. Be sure to go follow her. I'm doing this podcast partly for education, for you guys to learn, but also to support awesome people that I know that are just hustling and killing it and talented. So be sure to do that extra step and go follow them and give them love and support. Speaking of love and support, you can visit shenova.co/bosspod to see all the other previous episodes of Boss Pod. This was episode number 6. So there's 5 other episodes that you can catch up on through that website. You can also see the show notes there and all the guest social medias to support them and follow them as well. All episodes are then uploaded to YouTube, which is my YouTube at youtube.com/shenova, and then distributed as a podcast on Mondays the next day to all podcast outlets, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify and Anchor, all those places. And then if you want to watch it live here on Instagram every Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. And then if you want to support further, my Patreon is patreon.com/shenova. I'm doing music. I'm working constantly. If you like what I'm about, if you like what this podcast is about, every little bit counts if you can. So thank you so much for that. This is Shenova signing out, episode number 6 of Boss Pod, Conversations with Creators. Later.